Hey guys, welcome to our first ever AMA featuring Marc B. I'm really excited about this. This is our first AMA, and with us, like I said, we have Marc B. Marc, who was featured in one of our case studies earlier, has a lot to share with the community today. It's going to be a really great one. Before we get started, just want to give you guys a heads up. If you have any questions that you want to ask throughout the webinar, feel free to post them in the thread on Teespring News in the Facebook group, where we'll have Allie moderating that. Allie, go ahead and mute yourself. Say hi really quick to everybody.
Hey everyone, Allie from Teespring here. A few of you have probably seen me in the community before. Here to make sure your questions get answered. Hopefully we'll get some knowledge drop today. You guys will hear probably a few bad jokes and hopefully learn a lot.
Yeah, awesome. So like I said, Allie's going to be moderating that. Of course, Bridget's probably going to be in the community checking some things out. And Marc and I are going to be here. So the format for this is going to be really casual. We've collected some questions in advance. So we're hoping to have some high-quality content for everyone and also make it really personal, really get to know Marc a little bit. So as we go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. So yeah, let's get started. Marc, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself first?
All right, so I've always been interested in business and making money. Since I was younger, everybody that knows me in high school knows I was always just selling anything I could get my hands on. I'd resell textbooks, buy concert tickets, and resell them. So I was always trying to make money, I guess the unconventional way. And recently, I started college as a biology major, and because I kind of always wanted to be a doctor, and everybody's parents wants them to be a doctor or a lawyer. So I was like, yeah, I guess I want to do this. This is what my dad wants me to do, and it's cool. It's a cool job. Even though I was always interested in business, I never really saw myself in it. So one day, my friend Spencer, who is the person that showed me everything, he came to me and he said, what if I told you you could make $50,000 by sitting in front of your computer every so often, whenever you have free time, and selling shirts to anybody?
It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, I was thinking, it sounded, a little bit ridiculous. It's like, do I need money for this? What do I need? He's like, well, that's the best part. You only need $10. And I was like, how? So, we went through it. He taught me everything about it. He taught me about Facebook and how to target people on Facebook. And I was like, okay, so this is pretty cool. It's something interesting. And so we go, and he walked me through. I launched my first campaign that said, sleep with an elevator repairman. We always get it up. And I was like, yeah, this sounds a little bit ridiculous. And he's like, well, sometimes it works. So okay, we tried it. We targeted elevator repairman on Facebook, and it was a really small community. There was only like 17,000 of them, and it sold 19 shirts, which isn't a lot when you compare it to what some other people sell. There's campaigns that have sold over 10,000. But we spent $90, and I sold 19 shirts, so I profited about $100. So
wow,
for a first campaign, it was really cool. I was like, wow, I spent an hour and made $100. That's awesome. So immediately I was hooked on the platform, hooked on everything, all the possibilities that could happen with it. And so I went through and I launched 40 campaigns.
Wow.
40 different shirts, spending about $10 on each one, $400, and nothing worked. So I went 40 straight campaigns without a single success after the first initial one. So I was under $300 because I had nothing going for me. So and it was for two reasons. I didn't have the hang of it yet, and I was doing a lot of things wrong. I was making a lot of silly mistakes that were costing me money. And so after a while, I was getting a little bit tired, as anybody would after trying 40 times and failing 40 times. So I was thinking, okay, well, let me think outside the box. Let me think of some things I can do. So I was actually at my girlfriend's house, who I think is watching right now. I'm not sure. Hi, Monica. So I was at her house, and I was thinking, okay, veterans are pretty cool. They're pretty cool people, They fought for our country. They did a lot of things. But so I was like, all right, well, they're badass and they're retired. And I was like, hold on, retired badasses sounds pretty cool. So I came up with my first extremely successful shirt. Sold 278. It said,
Wow.
Some people like to call me a U.S. military veteran. I prefer to be called a retired badass, and I actually have it here. I brought it. So just really simple.
So let me get this straight. You tipped your first campaign, made about $200 profit roughly. Then you failed 40 times in a row.
Yeah.
Before getting this home run.
Yeah, I had one campaign that sold like 5, but I spent $80. I had another campaign that sold I had another one that sold 40, but completely broke even, so it was useless.
Yeah.
Essentially. So yeah, I failed 40 times, and
wow.
It was really discouraging. And I was really mad because I got really excited. I saw all the possibilities, and I was looking on other successful shirts, and I was getting really jealous. And I was like, I mean, there's people making more money than God knows who, than so many people that I know, than my parents, than everyone. And I'm trying to do the same thing, and it's not working. So, it can be really, really, really frustrating, but you just keep going, and it really pays off.
Yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned your inspiration for this particular T-shirt, but oftentimes we hear things like, hey, I'm out of ideas. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. Where else do you source your ideas from? What do you do for inspiration? I mean, this one, it sounds like it just kind of came to you. It was this epiphany while you were hanging out with your girlfriend. But where do you go?
Well, I always, look at other shirts, other successful shirts, and see what makes them successful. But one of the things I've made a point not to do is sit down and try and crunch out ideas. I've never done that, and I don't plan on doing that. If I have an idea for a shirt, I sit down, I write it down. I have a notepad on my phone that's like 100 lines long of just ideas that have worked or failed. And I never sit down and try and come up with things because I either don't come up with anything or they suck. One thing that I've realized about myself is I can't force myself to be creative. I can look at some things, I can study some shirts, I can, follow trends, and from those things, make something, make a good shirt. So I'll be walking around school and I'll see someone with a shirt, or I'll see someone that has a sticker on their laptop, and be like, hey, that'd be a really cool thing to put on a shirt, or like, hey, that's a good idea for this niche. So it comes also with knowing different niches. So I have several. I have photographers, veterans, painters, seniors, fans of fishing, what else? Juniors in high school. So I have a couple, and the more you expand and you study other successful niches. So nurses have been really a very highly targeted group. Teachers, recently grandmothers. So you see a lot of successful things, and you study why are they so successful. You keep those. I personally is what I do. I keep them in the back of my head all the time, and every single time that I'm walking around, that I'm doing something, I see something else that inspires me, and I just kind of go as I go. So I don't make this. It's not even a job for me. It's not a job, and I think that's when it becomes frustrating. That's when this can become very frustrating, when you make it your life, when you make it your job, because you're gonna hit roadblocks and you're not gonna. And that's something that actually happened to me over the winter break.
Yeah. So
after my success.
Where do you go for inspiration when you hit these roadblocks? Do you look up to some people? Do you have some idols? Like, what do you personally do when you hit this roadblock and now all of a sudden you're like, shoot, I can't tip a campaign right now? Where do you go?
Well, I'll talk to anybody. I talk to people that do specific hobbies. Like I have a couple of. One of my friends in my fraternity, Bertot. His name's Bertot. We were talking the other day and actually got an idea for a shirt that I'm going to launch soon. So, I'm going to talk to him about that. So just talking to people helps a lot. Talking to people that have specific interests that you don't. Because one of the biggest things about Teespring is knowing your niche. And if you want to get into a niche that you don't know anything about, you need to study it. So I go to people, I'll ask my friends that like certain things. I was like, hey, so for one of my fishing shirts, I asked one of my friends, it's like, hey, what do you think about this? I don't fish, but you do. You think the fishing community would like this? And my answer was yeah. and it was a successful shirt. It sold 190.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I go, never be afraid to ask people, and I've gone to people that don't have that much knowledge of Teespring and be like, hey, I do this, I need your help. If this works, I'm more than happy to work out a deal with you, where I'll make the shirt, I'll do everything with your idea. We combine forces and we make it happen. So.
And I think that's important, is the ideation and the idea of joint ventures, right? That's something that we've seen a lot, and being able to work with other springers and other people in the community unlocks so much potential, whether it's for creative roadblocks like you mentioned, or somebody has a skill set, a particular complementary skill set to you, that helps so much. Do you have anybody that you specifically work with?
My friend Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Spencer. We actually do a lot of work together, and we bounce ideas off of each other. He's helped me with a couple of mine, and he's made some templates that I've kind of used and applied to mine. I've helped him with a couple of his shirt ideas as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's worked out pretty good, and we were friends growing up, and like I said, he was the one that told me about this. So actually, recently, we've been working on some other things that aren't just T-shirts, that are inspired by this T-shirt business. And one of the things we're working on, it's actually a website, and it's up right now. It's in its developing phases, but anybody can go check it out. It's called teebabble.com, T-E-E, babble.com. And it's basically a voice chat room where members from the community can go, and it's just, you have to see it. You have to kind of use it to realize the useful potential of this of the system. So we're working on it to as a way for people to constantly communicate, because talking is something that helps so much. We feel that only so much can be accomplished when you're typing.
Yeah.
So it's a live video chat room where anybody, and it's free. It's free for anybody that wants to use it. We'll be tweaking things and making it better as time goes on. Both of us are still learning. Him more than I don't know much about website coding and design, but learning, and we're doing our best to make a name for ourselves in the internet marketing community. So this is the first step.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you mentioned that a couple of people have asked, when you're setting up your Facebook ads, right? So you've clearly had some home runs, you've done some big things there. If you don't mind sharing, what type of ads do you typically set up? Are you a PPE guy, clicks to website? How do you mix them up? When you're first setting up your campaign, what does that strategy look like?
Well, we started using cost per click, and then it wasn't that good. It was a lot more expensive, like 10 cents per click, things like that. So we switched to PPE, and it's worked. It's worked really well for me, but personally, I do page post engagement, an ad that shows multiple styles available in the shirt.
Yep.
So the main style, and then it shows the multiple hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeves, different colors, whatnot.
And how do you create your ads? Do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I do. I do that myself. I was actually doing a lot. I actually used to use Microsoft Word. I even used Microsoft Word to design my biggest shirt, the senior one, and I've used it to design a couple of other shirts. I just recently got Photoshop and gained knowledge from it, and learned how to use it. So I create ads on there and I tweak some designs there.
Yeah.
But I mean, Microsoft Word can be used to create your ads with no problem. So I create my ads, make it 505 by 505, so it shows perfectly on the screen. And page post engagement, I say purchase here, a link to the shirt, a small description. I always ask them to share with their friends because it's a little call to action.
Yeah.
I go buy and share with your friends so they can, So for my class shirts, I was like, the perfect class shirt for any class of 2015 member. Stuff like that. And then when online stores came out, I would also include a link to my online store at the bottom. And Spencer taught me how to, use, we use Namecheap, but you can use any domain website to send a redirect to the Teespring store, but using a different name. So I bought the domain name seniorsclassofo2015.com, and I put it on the bottom of every ad, and then he told me you should also put them on your shirts. So I did, and so on a lot of my shirts, I have my website name on it. So it helps with branding and buys. It's free advertising every time somebody's wearing my shirt. They're wearing my website on it. So
Yeah, so with that, how much of your traffic would you say is organic versus paid traffic? What percentage of it, and do you know what percentage of that has converted into sales, relative to one another?
Okay, well, it's about 50-50. As time goes on, about 50-50, yeah. This is specific to my junior and senior niche, and they're very unique because they're extremely savvy. They're very familiar with Facebook. They know how to use it. They tag their friends. They share and tag 10 people. You can go through the comments of some of the bigger campaigns.
Yeah.
And there's been 25 names in one comment of tags. Yeah. So the organic reach on those shirts is extremely large, and it gets out there very quickly. On my other campaigns, it's always more paid than organic. It's very rare for me, in particular, that it's more organic because of the fact that a lot of my previous campaigns have been working professionals. So not as much of them have time to be sharing and commenting. They still do, but definitely not as much as as the seniors and juniors.
Okay.
But as far as which one converts. For seniors and juniors, I'm pretty sure the organic one converted more. I looked at some of the data, and it looked like organic reach converted more because people would go out of their way and they would message their classmates, oh my God, we need to get these. Okay, buy 6, and I'll give you the money in class. So that was a lot of things that happened. So yeah, definitely for the seniors, organic. For high school kids, it was more organic reach that made me money. For working professionals and the older demographic, paid reach got me more.
So then, you mentioned these two niches that you have here with the juniors and seniors, and you also work in some other niches. How many attempts in selling shirts to that specific niche, the juniors and seniors, did it take before you finally got one that you would define as a home run?
All right. Well, a quick story behind that. I was one day, my girlfriend were at my house, and we left. I went to drop her off, but it was late. It was like 1 in the morning. So I drank coffee before dropping her off. So I came back to my house 2 in the morning, and for those of you not familiar with Cuban coffee, it will keep you up forever. So basically, what happened is I get home at 2 in the morning, and I'm not tired. So I'm like, all right, well, let me make shirts. And I had some moderate success before this. I had done there was a really popular template going on, so I scaled that to a couple of other niches, and that's how I developed them.
Yeah.
So then I was like, let me make, and this was around the beginning of the school year, so I was like, wait a minute, let me try some shirts for seniors. So I set up the page. I launched like 5 campaigns, all between the times of like 3 and 7 in the morning. So I did all this, and I woke up the next morning at about 1 in the afternoon, like a lazy bum, and I saw that one of them had 6 sales after spending $5.
Wow.
And yeah, and to me that was mind-blowing because I didn't have a fan base yet. Oh, and the page already had 1,000 likes, and I was like, what? What just happened? My biggest page at the time had 3,000 likes and had only sold about 150 shirts, so shirt to like ratio wasn't that much.
Yeah.
I was like, 1,000 likes, 6 shirts. Okay, something weird just happened. I just hit something. I had a click-through rate of, I don't know, 19.
Wow.
Something really, really high. So I was like, I just hit the jackpot with targeting. The way I set up the ads was I guess really well, and I recommend more Teespringers to make shirts at 5 in the morning. You might get some good luck out of it. So
Marc Bullis approved.
Yeah. So I woke up the next morning. I was like, okay, I have something here. So that first shirt sold 166. So it was pretty good. I had maintained an ROI above 100. I don't remember exactly what it is. I would have to go back. So I did a couple of those. I made.
How many likes did you end up with on that page? So you said you sold 166 shirts off of this ad. How many likes ended up on your page?
Right now, or after that specific one?
Just after that campaign. I was wondering what your like to sale ratio was on this specific campaign.
I think it was somewhere like 8,000.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was around 8,000, so it had surpassed anything that I had at the time. So I went on to do that. I made a couple. Some didn't work, some did. There was another one that was a huge success. It was a little rhyme scheme, very basic. And I just kept making shirts. And then I also, after making for the seniors, I was like, okay, well, let me try juniors. Juniors worked as well. Not as incredibly, but it still did. It was still very, very successful. So I'm like, okay, I might as well do all of high school. Sophomores and freshmen didn't work.
Yeah.
I understood because nobody's proud to be a sophomore or freshman. So yeah, all that worked, and the ball really got rolling from there.
So what would you say was your epiphany moment then when it came to launching Teespring campaigns? Was it when you launched that first shirt, when you had your first home run, when you came across this idea? When was it that you realized that this was something bigger than what you originally thought it was? Because I know you changed your major, that's correct? You actually changed what you're studying.
Yeah, I changed after 2 years too, so I used to be a junior, now I'm back to sophomore status. I changed from biology to marketing because before I was, like I said, I always had the interest in business and marketing and everything, advertising. But I had no real world experience, nothing. I was like, okay, well, I don't really have anything right now that separates me from anybody else. So, I'm just going to stick with biology because it's not like I didn't like it. I liked it. It was cool. I was pretty good at it. So after my successful fall semester of Teespring, I was like, all right, this is something real. This is something that I can show to an employer that I was able to do almost by myself with help from very few individuals. One of them being my account manager, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff. Great job. Yeah. Shout out to the whole account management team.
Yeah. So after the fall semester, I thought a lot, and I saw some of the doors that Teespring opened for me, and people approaching me with ideas and everything. I was like, whoa, especially after you guys published the case study about me. So I was like, I have so much on my plate right now, and I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
None of this is going to help me in my biology major. This was my train of thought. I was like, this doesn't really help me if I'm applying to medical school. They don't care if I can sell T-shirts. They care that I've shadowed doctors. They care that I've done all these internships. So I was like, I don't see myself doing this anymore. So at the beginning of the spring semester this year, I decided I'm changing my major. That's it. So I've recently, I've joined the American Marketing Association, and we're doing projects for local businesses where they do marketing campaigns, and I'm the group leader for my group, and I'm in love with it. I love it. So I'm doing what I love, and Teespring has helped me significantly.
So you're a student right now. You just said it yourself. You had a bunch of stuff on your plate, right? Yeah. We have, I'm sure, more than a handful of people in the audience right now who either have a full-time job and do this on the side, or in some capacity, time restraints. Can you talk a little bit about how you're able to balance school, Teespring? Obviously, you're involved in a lot of organizations on campus. You're in a relationship, so you have all these different time commitments pulling you in different directions, and how you're able to manage all that. Because I know that there are probably some people out there who have a full-time job, a couple of kids who are trying to balance all of these things. How do you manage your time? What does your workflow look like? Talk to us a little bit about that process.
Okay. Well, last semester when I had my, hands down most successful 3-month period of selling, I was taking 17 credits. I was taking Organic Chemistry 1, which is one of the hardest classes. Yeah, one of the hardest classes in FIU. And I was in my fraternity. I was, it was my first semester. Was it? No, it was my second semester as an active member, but it was a fall semester, so there was a lot of things going on. Maintaining a relationship, all of those things. So I was extremely, extremely pressed for time. And what I did was, like I said earlier, I would never spend time just working on Teespring without having ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I would be constantly thinking of ideas as I did my everyday thing, as I was in class, as I was studying, and so I was just constantly looking for ideas, constantly doing this, doing that, talking to people while maintaining all of this. So one of the biggest things I would do is, if I had anything that I could make, I would go right before going to bed. I'd spend about 45 minutes before going to bed, and I would try and launch at least 1 to 2 campaigns every night.
Mm-hmm.
And only when I already had the idea for it. So I wouldn't waste time thinking.
So when you're saying you were launching 1 to 2 campaigns, how long did this last, and how many campaigns did you end up launching over what period of time?
So over that 3-month period of time, which is, 3 months. So over that period of time, I would say I launched somewhere between, at the rate of 1 to 2 campaigns a day. Of course, some days I didn't launch any. But I want to say I launched a ballpark number of about 100 campaigns in 3 months.
Okay.
Which is a lot for some people, but it's a lot for others, So I felt kind of right in the middle.
I think that's very important, and the reason why I say that is because we've done a lot of research, and in order to increase your productivity and your ROI on a per campaign basis, we found that the most important statistic to look at is the amount of campaigns that you launch and your launches per day. We've essentially found that your ROI goes up as you launch more campaigns. So for somebody who only launches 1 to 2 campaigns per day, maybe they're only selling 20 shirts per campaign. But for people who launch 5, 6, 7 shirts or campaigns per day, you're going to find that they're selling 25 shirts per campaign. So not only do you get the added benefit of launching more campaigns, you end up selling more shirts per campaign. And we have a saying at Teespring that we've heard from the community and we've kind of adopted. It's fail fast, learn fast, succeed fast.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. And it sounds like that's something that you've been doing. Where do you get that all from? What are your thoughts on that? And do you have any other advice to instill on people who are listening today?
Yeah. So like I said in the case study, just don't give up. It sucks. To give you an idea, I've made a good amount of money. I don't really like to announce it, but yeah. I've done well for myself in the time that I've been doing this. And I went through my CSV the other day. I think that's what it's called, the file that just shows you all your campaigns.
Yeah.
I have launched, if I'm not mistaken, 500 campaigns. So that is 500 designs, 500 of my ideas that I came up with that I thought, well, this is a great idea. Somebody's definitely going to buy it. So
I think we've all had that thought.
Yeah, it's like, I love it, so the rest of the country has to like it too.
Exactly.
And so 500. Out of those 500, only 80 tipped.
Wow.
So that is 420 ideas that sucked, essentially.
And yet you still came out profitable.
Yes. Out of those 80 campaigns, I was able to profit.
Wow.
So just to give you an idea, it can be tough. It can definitely be tough. It's frustrating. Look for ideas. Look to people that have been successful. Look at successful campaigns. See what makes them so good. And a lot of the advice I give to people is that people are narcissistic. Everybody's narcissistic. You love to show off, how cool you are or what you do. That nobody's gonna wear a shirt that says something bad about them. So for example, the first shirt that I was successful in is the veteran one, and it says like, yeah, look at me, I'm a veteran, I did this, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
Same thing with the seniors. Is the first successful one was like, yeah, we run this.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's gonna wear a shirt that says I'm awful.
It's
You know?
about elevating the ego, really.
Yeah, exactly. And people are proud. You know, everybody's proud. I'm wearing my fraternity shirt because I'm proud to be in my fraternity. Like and so are you. You're wearing a fraternity shirt under your jacket.
Absolutely.
So people like to wear what they're proud of, and that's one of the things that you really need to to get at. And the first advice that Spencer told me, besides that, was make shirts for people who haven't had shirts made for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of success with that. You know, there are a bunch of sayings going around. You know, there's a "Trust me, I'm an engineer." Obviously, everybody's heard that one. From that saying all the way to, you know, "I'm a mechanic. I fix engineers' problems." Anything that elevates the ego usually does well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So before we part ways, I just wanted to ask, is there any final message that you really want to instill on everybody who's listening today? I know we have a few things on our end that we want to get in there, but if you could leave everybody with one piece of advice, one last thing, what would you tell them? What would you say?
Don't stress. Don't get mad at yourself for not selling. It's going to happen. It happens to everyone, you know. Actually, recently in the last month, I haven't really done much, but I'm not freaking out about it. I know that ideas come, you know, ideas come, ideas go. And pay attention to trends. Pay attention to things that are popular. So my most successful shirt was based on an extremely popular rap song during the time. And that's the greatest thing about this industry. You know, like the kid that sold the Ice Up Sun shirts.
Yeah.
He sold it after, I think it was Steve Smith, the football player on the wide receiver, said "Ice Up Son" to somebody after in a post-game speech. You know, in 3 days he sold like 3,000 shirts. That's 40 grand. And relevant things, people love relevant things.
Yes.
So stay with the times is the most important advice, because they're always changing. Times are always changing. Trends are coming and going. Take advantage of those. You know, I saw shirts. I even made one. It didn't sell much. It only sold 5. But how everybody was laughing about the left shark at the Super Bowl.
We've seen tons of them.
There's tons of shirts about the left shark at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, they work. You know, contemporary sells. So my most successful shirt was a spin-off of the really popular Bobby Shmurda song. I probably shouldn't say the name of it because it's not exactly appropriate.
Please don't. We can't censor this one.
Yeah. So here it is. You know, we stopped caring about a week ago, seniors, and so that was the most successful, and it was because it was so wildly popular that at the moment people wanted it so much. You know, it was everywhere. Everywhere you looked, people were yelling about a week ago, and people still make that joke, and I still make that joke, and I mean, it's still relevant. So stay relevant, make relevant content all the time.
For sure. That's awesome, man, and I couldn't have said it better myself. I really couldn't have. So, Mark, I really want to thank you for coming and speaking with everybody today. I know the community appreciates it. I've been checking out Teespring News as this has been going on. We've gotten some great feedback, some great questions, and you've truly added some value to the community. I can't thank you enough for that. So seriously, thanks so much for joining us today. One real quick thing. We are releasing more and more products throughout the year, so as everybody's going through, maybe you saw the campaign. This is the soft shell jacket that we will be selling. It's a Port Authority jacket. Our merchandising team has worked hard. This is going to be something that going into the spring and definitely as well back again in the fall, we'll be able to sell some awesome jackets, high quality at a great price, allowing you guys to really capitalize on that. So, you know, I can definitely envision you hitting your niches hard with some of these jackets, especially, you know, as people are graduating, going into college, things of that nature. So, again, thank you so much for coming out. If anybody has any questions for us going forward, you know, feel free, post it on that Teespring News thread. I know Mark will be in there. I'll be in there answering any residual questions that are there. We'll be posting a link to the replay. And yeah, I think it's fantastic that people from the community are willing to share and help one another out. Bringing everybody to the next level is truly how we're all going to win here. So thank you so much.
No problem. And also whoever, don't forget to check out tbabble.com. Be able to talk to each other. It's really useful. You'll see when you try it. It's a really useful tool. So it's something else that'll supplement your selling and getting advice from other Teespringers in a more active form.
For sure. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much. And I know Allie's still with us. Allie, if you want to hop on, say goodbye, and thank you to everybody. Thanks so much for putting this together.
Oh, technical difficulties.
Well, yep. Sounds like she's over in our San Francisco office.
No. Sorry, guys. How's it going? Just wanted to say thanks so much, everyone, for coming by. Great to talk, and we'll be in Teespring News to answer more of your questions.
Cool, and stay tuned for our next AMA with our next Springer. Who knows? It could be you. Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
You guys, thank you.